Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Along with me, Blaze Winter to my left. Of course, Wednesday night, you see him on four-wheel drive. I want to thank him for being on as he helped coach Mark Dantonio. That's right, Coach. Thank you for being on the show. What a fun we're going to have.
Appreciate you guys having me on, and it's great to see you, Blaze.
You too,
my gosh. Blaze went to work as a consultant for Coach, and I think around 2010, right at the beginning of that 5 out of 6 years with 11 wins. I think you helped them for like 3 or 4 years, right, Blaze?
Yes, it was an amazing experience to be around Coach Dantonio and his staff. I mean, they were smooth. They knew what they were doing. They brought in amazing players that nobody thought would go to Michigan State. They were run by one of the best strength coaches, Johnson, in the world. I mean, it was a smooth operating machine, and Coach Dantonio was, the man at the wheel. Man, he was doing it.
We're going to talk about his coaching. Yeah, we're going to talk about all his coaching characteristics. We're going to talk about the strength staff as well. But I want to start out with just some selfish Italian heritage. My grandfather, Salvatore Tripodi, when they came over Ellis Island in 1912, the same year that your grandfather Frank came over in 1912 on Ellis Island. They dropped the apostrophe and they dropped the D. They thought the D was an L for Tripodi. Now it's Tripoli over here. Coach, you got four. You grew up with three brothers, 4 boys in the family, like I did. I'm not nearly the coach you were. You probably forgot more than I know. But Coach, talk about growing up. Talk about your mom and dad. Your dad played basketball at Salem University. Talk about your childhood, Coach.
Well, you got some information there. So yeah, my grandfather came over from a little town called Montanaro Domo on the top of a mountain near the Adriatic Sea, and my grandmother also came from that same little town. And they actually, my dad was born in Pittsburgh, and my grandfather worked in the steel mills and all that kind of stuff. My dad went to war, World War II. He was a crew chief for the Air Force and was stationed in Tinian, which is where the Enola Gay flew out of. They dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, and it was so they were stationed there in this secret. Basically, a group of people came in there, worked on it, and everything. So he was there at that time. But he was a crew chief on B-50, B-24s, and he went to El Paso, Texas, and my mom's from Wisconsin, and she was on a trip, and they met each other, and 6 months later they were together and married, and I was born in El Paso, Texas. I moved to Zanesville, Ohio, and grew up there. And my dad was the coach, administrator, teacher, guidance counselor, finance principal. And we had a great upbringing, and my 3 brothers are all doing extremely well as well. And played basketball, football, track. Went on from there, and ended up at the University of South Carolina where I played, and then on to the coaching thing. So,
wow, you're a multiple sport athlete. Then you were actually born on March 9th, 1956, the same day my oldest brother was born. That's right, the same day. So,
playing my oldest brother was born, same day.
It's amazing, isn't it? I would have never made it in college or the pros. You were an all-state safety in high school. And then you went South Carolina and played defensive back at South Carolina. But did your brothers have a big influence? My brothers had a huge influence on my athletic career. Did your brothers athletes as well?
Yeah, all 3 of them, various things. And I'm number 2, and my brother behind me played football at South Carolina as well, and was a great player actually. Defensive end, outside backer. All my brothers played sports, ran track and played basketball, or, my younger brother played football with me, and my other brothers played as well, but didn't go on to play in college like that.
Who was the head coach there at that time? South Carolina.
Jim Carlin.
All right.
Yep. All right. Coach, how was your teams back then in college? And how did you know you wanted to be a coach? Was it at an early age? Was it after college when you got your first GA job? I believe it was Ohio State in 83, 84. Actually, my junior and senior year, you're a GA. Who got you into coaching, and who had an early influence on your career, Coach?
Yeah, I started thinking about coaching when I started being recruited at some various schools and that kind of stuff. And then as I got into college, and I played for a guy named Dale Evans, Coach Dale Evans.
Yeah.
I started thinking, hey, he's got a good job. He's around football, he's impact on young people, and I think I may want to try and do that. So I actually coached high school for 1 year, got my degree in English education, and then off to be a graduate assistant. I went to Ohio University first in 1980. Right. 81, I think it was, 80 or 81.
Yep, 80.
Then, Purdue University, then a junior college, Butler Junior College in Kansas, then BA in Ohio State, and then before I finally got my first full-time job, at the University of Akron.
Coach, I didn't learn much in high school from my DB coach because just the details and weren't there at that long time ago. My pro coaches, they didn't really add a whole lot to my knowledge, but my college coach was outstanding. Coach Bryant had assistant coaches that he wanted them not a yes man. He wanted them smarter than he was. Coach, talk about the assistant coaches, because Blaze and I were talking. You had outstanding assistant coaches, and I think that was one of your impetus to being a great head coach.
They were amazing. Amazing.
When I went to the University of Cincinnati for the first time as a head football coach, I had decisions to make on who to hire and things of that nature, and so I started going through people, and I hired some younger coaches that stayed with me, and hired Coach Narduzzi from Miami, Ohio, who Pat. Yeah, I just talked to Pat yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Did you?
Doing a great job, 11 years now at Pitt.
Yeah.
11? Wow.
But I had some great coaches that stayed with me throughout our time. I was a head coach for 16 years, and I probably had in that time period, I probably had 15 coaches. That was it. There was a little bit of turnover because we would go on to become a head coach or something like that, but not very much turnover at all. So you put that in perspective. You had the same guy coaching innovatively, continuing to try to get better, but the same individual, same morals and attitude and things of that nature throughout my process, throughout my coaching profession. And like you said, Blaze, they were outstanding, and
they were amazing, absolutely amazing.
And tremendous attention to detail.
The harmony was amazing, and to observe, having been around great ones myself, like George O'Leary and Jim Tressel. You had a Tressel on your staff, and just to observe these people and the way you handle them and they handle their positions, and it really does impact the players when there is a secure table of people to trust. And there was a round table of your coaches that those players could trust, and that meant a lot to the players. I talked to them in private. I was only there in the off season for a few months or a few weeks.
Sure.
And those players, they would do almost anything for you because of that stability.
Yeah, we had great stability with our coaching staff. As I said, and, you can always get a little bit better as a coach, just like as a player. And it's as long as stay innovative and continue to critique what you do and how you do it. But I've always felt, I worked for some tremendous coaches throughout my time. I was a graduate assistant for Jim Young, who's in the Hall of Fame at Purdue. Earl Bruce.
Wow.
At Iowa State, worked for Nick Saban for 5 years. I was his secondary coach. Tremendous coaches, you guys know.
Wow.
Coach, you were his secondary coach, and he was a DB as well, and he was a DB coach. He used to even coach the DBs at Alabama. So that was one of my questions. What are some of the things you learned from Coach Saban, whether it be DB or because you had such stability in the staff, and then he had a lot of turnover because he had a lot of guys getting jobs. So it makes it maybe even a little bit more difficult. But talk about Coach Saban, what you learned from him, DB wise and otherwise.
Well, before I go into that, I also worked with Jim Tressel, so that was another Hall of Fame coach, and I was his defensive coordinator down at Ohio State for 3 years. So, and then worked for Youngstown State for 5. So, so I had that, guy impacting me as well. But, with Nick, people don't understand, he's in my meetings. I was his DB coach for 5 years. He's in every defensive back meeting for 5 years.
Oh man,
that's what Jeremy Pruitt said. I said, Jeremy, he came down to recruit one of our players and said, how many meetings have you run? How many DB meetings? He said, none.
Great job. But that was the same with every defensive back coach he ever had, because that's what he loved. So, difficult initially because you're in there with the head coach, but he had a tremendous amount of wisdom passed on to me, and we did things. Remember he was Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator, and so all that came to me through osmosis. Basically over and over and over again. But he was a tremendous coach, tremendous organization, attention to detail, thorough.
Yeah.
Always look for. We did a tremendous job, I thought, with our football team. In '99, which was last year there, we shut out Ohio State, we beat Michigan, beat Florida, beat Notre Dame.
Wow.
And one other tremendous, other school, Florida, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. And so we won 6 big time games.
Yeah.
But just, had an outstanding experience there in terms of learning. And I can't say it wasn't tough at times because, it's just that's the animal. But it was a great experience for me, and it taught me. And I learned more than just about defensive back. I learned more about defense and organization and structure, how to put a team together, and many of those things. Then I had the opportunity to go down to do it as the defensive coordinator with Jim Tressel.
Yeah, at Ohio State, 2001, 2, and 3. Then you go to Cincinnati, come back head coach in 2007. And it didn't take you long, Coach. 8 victories in 13 years over Michigan. I mean, just 5 out of 6 years, 11 wins in 5 out of 6 years, finished number 3 in the country, and maybe your best team. And I wanted to ask you about that. 2013, what a year. Holy cow. You won 9 conference games by double digits. Get that right, folks. 9 conference games by double digits. Coach, was that your best team, that 2013 team?
I refrain from ever saying that because they all have something to do with it, so I don't ever point in that direction. But we won 13 games and lost 1. That was probably, the 15 team won 12 games. The other ones won 11.
Yeah.
But, it was certainly very successful. And, those games were, we won by double digits, but they were very close. At the end of the game, we sort of pop one in there somehow and make it double digits. But they were competitive, and but we had a great defense, number 1 defense in the nation.
Yes, you did.
Sort of hung our hat on defense throughout my time.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
But we had some outstanding offensive players and coaches that got it done.
Blaze said you guys just had some amazing wins. You pulled them out for the last second, different ways. What was the most surprising, or just some of the most unique ways you guys won?
I would say probably when you look at it, we had quite a few walk-off wins. The rocket play versus Wisconsin, the last throw in the end zone. Certainly everybody will point to the Michigan game in 15, which everybody calls it with that. I just call it,
Yeah.
10-man block left. Guy, we went 11-man block left, but Bill Johnson, Notre Dame had the overtime period, the fake field goal. But we had quite a few walk-off wins. Georgia blocking a kick in the Outback Bowl to beat Georgia, and those type of things. But
wow, Coach, I was blessed, man. I was blessed to have Al Miller and Kent Johnston as my strength coaches. I would have never got on the field in college or the pro without those two guys. Believe me. How important is the strength and conditioning staff of a college football team?
well, I think they're critical because they spend more time with the players year-round capacity than even an assistant coach could at that time. Now, I think coaches may have more access nowadays, but back then, those guys were they had them in the winter, they had them in the summer. They were involved in every practice. We worked with them during the season, those type of things. Ken Manning and his staff were outstanding. And, Ken Manning's a Hall of Fame coach in his own right. He's at the Hall of Fame down in Atlanta as well. But, and I think as much as anything, it's not just the work that they put in with the players in the weight room, but it's the relationships they build and the tough love and the discipline and the attention to detail that goes on in the weight room as well. It all carries over to the field.
Coach, you're exactly right. Those strength coaches I had were all of that. Kent and Al are Hall of Famers. Both of them are Hall of Famers as well. And it's funny that your strength coach is a Hall of Famer because they're not a dime a dozen. They don't grow on trees. And neither do great coaches. I mean, you just look at the atmosphere of college football now. There's only 3 head coaches that have national championships. Right, Kirby, Dabo, and Day last year. So it's not easy to win.
No,
Coach,
it's not easy to win.
Yeah, to tell everybody out there how that gosh, it's not easy. Alabama's been spoiled. They've had Bama's had 2 of the greatest coaches that ever lived in coaching, and those odds alone are astronomical. So to have another coach come in is unrealistic and just not right. Coach, talk about how hard it is to win that.
Yeah.
Well, I say it all the time. It's hard to win. Coach Perlis, former Michigan State coach, used to always say they all count one. But what people need to understand is that everybody's working. The opposing team's working too. They got a plan too. And the plan, I think what everybody needs to understand is the plan will never survive contact. There will always be a problem. There'll always be something that happens. You need to be prepared for those things as you move forward. But it takes an attitude. Football is a tough game for tough people, and there's so many moving parts in the game of football with all the different people, the special teams, the offense, defense, the schematics of all that, and it's got to fall just right. It's a big puzzle, and if you can't put that puzzle together, there's going to be problems. And then inevitably one piece isn't going to fit, so you need to find the piece that's going to fit that puzzle. But it's extremely hard to win. You have to give a lot of credit to those who have sort of forged a way in their programs and created championships, whether they were conference championships, playoff aspects, or national championships, because extremely difficult. And you look back to my time at Ohio State, we went 14-0 in 2002 and won the championship. In 2001, we were 7-5. So the difference between winning and losing really hangs by a thread. And you got to do the little things right to accomplish that. And you got to have an attitude and a belief in yourself, and you got to dream big.
So true.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. You got to have dreams that you don't really quite understand how they're going to get there yet to really be foresight. I know there's, I keep referring back to my old coaches, but there was such attention to detail. I mean, they were so detail oriented. And Coach Bryant, you say you do the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. And he also knew how to adapt or die. He knew how to adapt. He went down to Texas to learn, from Emory Bellard and coach down there, the wishbone. And he learned to adapt that way. Coaches, they used to, I don't know, do other coaches learn from other coaches like they used to, Coach?
Well, they certainly used to when I was coaching. We would always take a trip Or was to a college program, like I would obviously a good friend of mine would go to Oklahoma, or we'd go to NFL teams. What I'd like to do sometimes is take my coach, spread them out, go to different places, come back. Inevitably, you're going to use what's best to do, but they do give you good ideas and things that you can implement in your program, and just little things like we went to the, I think it was the Colts one year, and they had a 3-minute horn to end the meetings. So when you're in a position meeting, they give you a 3-minute horn. That 3-minute horn meant wrap it up, bring a conclusion to what you're talking about, so it's clean for your players.
Yeah.
And, just that little aspect made a difference in how we went about things. But everything was very detail oriented and down to the very minute. Hey, you were in stretch at this time. You were out of stretch at this time. You were in a walk through at this time. You were out of walk through at this time. But you had to bring you had to bring the organization of those things to the field and not do it on the field. There were no wasted moments. I was a DB coach for Nick. Paul, you're a defensive back, I guess. And we would do 7 drills in 7 minutes. It was rapid fire. And there was structure to that every single day. We'd change them up every day. It'd either be this group of 7 drills or this group of 7 drills. And they all were refined to, I used to have my coaches come in and say, okay, what are the 3 dynamics that you need to do at your position to be excellent? And that would be in the board. That would be in the room. So for defensive backs, you had a great change of direction. I was able to play the ball part of the field. You got to pass space. So those 3 things we worked on constantly. These were individual drills. The very basics of what we did. And they were rapid. Those things were brought into, group sessions. So it was all very
wow. We had the same.
No wasted.
No wasted.
Coach Dantonio did the same thing with assigning his staff to look at specifics of a position, and that's how I got involved with Coach on the Narduzzi and Coach Tressel is that, hey man, what can we do better in the D line? And some of the things that were going on there was cutting edge hand combat. Well, I was a master in that area. I was the leading expert in that area, and I remember Coach's staff went after me. Narduzzi went after me and said, hey, don't only work with Ohio State, get your ass up here and let's learn about a different aspect of attacking the man in front of us. And, I love working around people that are open-minded toward the changes in the game, because the game has changed in some of the ways that we attack. And they were open-minded toward, hey, man, we got to be on the cutting edge. One of the reasons why his staff and Coach Dantonio was on top of it, winning more than losing, was, hey, we got to keep ahead of the wave. We got to be the first person in this area to examine it in detail.
Right.
Well,
yeah, little things.
She would come up and I did a tremendous job with our guys, working those hands.
Oh, good, Coach. You did. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Oh, Paul, you don't know how to do it. Let Coach demonstrate.
But I remember you coming up there and I would watch, and you had a tremendous impact on our players, and I wanted you around our players, not just from a technical standpoint, but from an attitude standpoint.
What an honor. Coach, what an honor. I can't tell you, man. It almost brings me to tears. Yeah. I mean, what a relationship of trust that you and I built. And, man, I forever admire you. I love you. I mean, the way you handle things through adversity was so incredibly it was just advanced. It was so smooth. It was so easy to understand once you did it, but it was so well timed. I mean, when you were having a hard time in the locker room at halftime, the way you would present a solution, it didn't cause everybody to run scared. Yeah, you knew how to put fear into people when you needed to. Yeah, you knew how to. But it was so, hey, man, we do this, get this done. And it was simplifying and streamlining, and then the players executing what you suggested. And man, another win, another win. It was just beautiful to watch.
It's the process.
There's always going to be problems, and how you handle adversity is going to define you. I've always said that. So we would work on those things, working through adversity throughout the year. And when the game time came, it was just another opportunity to grow. And I always looked at failure as an opportunity for growth.
Amen.
And, we just kept at it, stayed confident, and I always, as a coach, their best was good enough for me. Our players' best was good enough for me. So as long as they were giving their best and being confident in what they're doing and positive and not tearing things down but building things up, I could handle the problems. And people are going to look at the leader and say, what next? What do we do now?
Right.
I think it's very, very important that the leaders stay composed.
Yes. Absolutely. Adapt or die, learn from others, attention to detail, no wasted time in practice. I still go to high school practices today, and I can point, without even going to a game, I can point the ones that are winners and the ones that don't win just by the way they run practice, just by the way they run practice. And it was detailed, down, like Coach said, down to the minute. Just that's how a ship should be run. That's how a program should be run. And when I got to Alabama, I went, holy cow, what am I doing here? Because they just won back-to-back titles in 78, 79. Coach, there's a lot to be said about overcoming adversity and challenges that a lot of kids have. I was a walk-on at Alabama. Who are some of your overachievers, some of your walk-ons, or maybe a scholarship player that developed because of him? Talk about some of those kind of players.
Well, I ended up having to walk on at South Carolina as well. My brother.
Oh, you did?
All three of us, yes.
So I got put on scholarship after a semester and then played 3 years. But, had Kyler Ellsworth steps in the Rose Bowl, becomes the MVP in the Rose Bowl, defensive MVP for Max Bulla when he was sidelined there. Jack Conklin, all-pro, first-round draft pick, walk-on. Trevor Pendleton, our fullback, walk on. I'm trying to think of some guys right off the top of my head, but we had big guys. We had some outstanding players that were walk-ons for us and really played extremely well and made a name for themselves. Started for us.
Hey, that Bulla family was something, wasn't it? That Bulla family in Michigan State is something special, man. I played for Hank Bulla at Green Bay, and boy, oh boy, did I learn a lot about Michigan State.
Yeah. So, we had a Bulla playing for us for 10 years.
Yeah.
Three brothers.
What?
We had three Dow brothers, but we had three brothers. Max came in 2000, I believe, 10. Wow. And the last one was with us in 2019.
Yeah, the middle linebacker. Right?
Yeah. All of them played linebacker.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Great players.
So, and I think there's a lot to be said when families will send their the next guy in line in their family to their school. We had Jack Allen, Brian Allen, and Matt Allen. We had David Dow, Michael Dow, Andrew Dow. We had both Panasukes, Mike and
Coach,
so,
that reminds
me. That's an amazing accomplishment to get one after another that believe in. Hey, man, I want to go there too.
Yeah,
Coach, that reminds me of. You know what that reminds me of? The Good family. I do a show on Monday nights called Good and Faithful Servant, and we talk about faith, family, and football. And Kerry Good is wisdom filled. He's got ALS like Timmy Green, our high school teammate. But those four boys, all from the same household, were stars at Alabama. And not only that, their first cousin who lived with them for a little while is Antonio Langum. So they had 5 kids from the same household go to Alabama and star. Just amazing. Coach, what are your thoughts on NIL and transfer portal? Is it creating more parity for like the top teams and maybe separation from the lower level Division I teams?
Well, first of all, I do think they need to be paid, but I think it's gone a little out of whack. Somebody refute that, but I think the biggest thing is the transfer portal. You see players being in three programs or 4 programs in 4 years. And I think that defeats the purpose of team.
Right.
And there's something about the game of football and other sports, growing up and going through adversity and staying the course and all those kind of things that's going to help you throughout your life. I think right now the thought process probably is, amongst not just football, but, society in general, is if you
Yes.
not being successful at it, let's change and go over here or go over there, or stop doing this here. But I think when you develop players, there's a system to that, and if you stay in that system, you will develop. Yeah. So many of our players play, they redshirt, play a little bit as freshmen, then start their redshirt sophomore year and star for us for 3 years.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
They would know how to do things. They would know the culture and the way to do things in the system. So when they had an opportunity to excel on the field, they were unconsciously competent, which the highest level can be, and be successful.
I like how you say unconsciously competent. It's a muscle memory, doing it over and over. Development. It's all about development. I mean, I'm so thankful and blessed that they don't have the transfer portal when we played, because I didn't dress for a game until my 3rd year at Alabama. I'd have probably transferred, and I'm so thankful I didn't transfer out of Alabama. I mean, and it's a sad commentary in society, because I had a lot of things to overcome. A lot of my issues, and a lot of because I just had how walk-ons are. I didn't get a scholarship in my 5th year. You guys got one your 1st year. I didn't get one until my 5th year, and so I think it's not teaching the kids to overcome adversity and fight through. If you don't get along with somebody, you have to learn to get along with them, because you know what? One day you're going to get a job for a company, and guess what? You're not going to get along with your coworker or boss sometimes.
Yeah, you got to be able to stay the course. And, I think that it's, when you talk to a coach, or I don't care which coach it is, and they have a turnover of 50 players in their program every year, that's tough to develop stability. Now, you may win and you may be successful, but year in and year out, it's a crapshoot.
Absolutely. Coach, your biggest challenge as a player or as a coach in your life, where did you have to overcome that was a big hurdle and you had to stay the course?
I would say as a player, I came in there as a walk-on, so, I had to continue to sort of persevere through it. Mm-hmm. Got put on after a semester and played, but that whole aspect of staying the course and everything. And then as a coach, it was 7 years before I was, I was a GA at Ohio U, then Purdue, then a junior college coach, and then another GA for 2 years, and then I went to Akron, and they fired they reassigned the head coach, the all-time winningest coach. We go 8-3, and they decide they're going to go Division I and hire Jerry Faust. And so, but all things work out. I went to Youngstown State, were there for 5 years, and on to Kansas for 3, and then Michigan State. And, Michigan State probably is where I learned the most football and impacted my life. I would say Ohio State, Youngstown State, the way Jim Tressel ran his program probably impacted me as a person. But Michigan State did as well. And along the way, I had some great, Bob Sutton I went to Army for a brief time as a coach, one of those part-timers. Bob Sutton had a big impact on me, a long-time NFL coach. I could go through all the different coaches I had. Dom Capers, I was a GA for Dom Capers.
Yeah.
Gary Blackney, Bobby Cope, the name from the past, Leon Burtnett. These are guys that were extremely well known in the coaching profession in the secondary. So I was blessed to have a lot of great people around me, and it impacted me and taught me a lot of things. And along the, and I always go back to really what my dad taught me. Hey, persevere, complete your circles, stay the course. Don't get too full of yourself. Stay humble. And but I had great coaches around me, and again, the head coach, I had great coaches and administrators.
Yeah, awesome, Coach. Such a great story, man. Perseverance is definitely omnipotent. You can be educated. That's not going to do it. There's a lot of educated derelicts in this world, but I think perseverance overcomes everything. That's so cool, Coach. What's next? What are you doing now?
Well, I got 2 grandchildren, so I need to have to wish them all the time. So they're great. I have 2 daughters. Spend a lot of time with them. I'm on the college football committee, playoff committee.
Cool.
So one of those 13 people that
Awesome.
make busy a little bit, and then I've gone back and forth over to Michigan State games, and retired with my wife Becky, and living a good life. And
yeah, grandkids are pure joy. Grandkids are pure joy, aren't they, Coach? Wow. Coach, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. And Blaze, thanks for all your hard work when you came up to Michigan State, and you had a great impact on our guys.
I value
there's the reason we would have 30 or 40 sacks a year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you a lot, and I value
Coach.
I really do.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Wow, that was awesome. Blaze, that was awesome. Thanks for joining the show today, buddy. I appreciate it.
I couldn't miss him, man. He is a class human being. What you hear is the way he coached. What you hear about trusting others, what you hear about perseverance, what you hear about these things, he demonstrated in his daily life. He believed what he needed to believe, and he had the guts to say no to things that weren't foundation-wise sound. He believed in a strong foundation. He believed in cutting edge. He believed in staying in control. This wasn't about everyone running all over and being lost. It was about stay under control, measure what's in front of you, and then, hey, at the right time, attack.
Awesome. Thanks for getting them on, buddy. I'll see you for Wednesday's show tomorrow.
Absolutely, yes.
Thanks. So long.
Peace out.
This show is brought to you by Sandy Sansing Chevrolet. Thanks for watching Coach's Corner. Everybody stay tuned for these great messages. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
When it comes to buggies and golf carts, nobody does it like Buggy Works. Hi, I'm JP Wibbs. We've got the largest selection of golf carts on the Gulf Coast. We have a brand new 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art service center and showroom to keep you rolling. We're right here in the heart of Car City at 5831 Pensacola Boulevard. Open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturdays 9 to 3. Check us out at buggyworks.com. Buggy Works. Come by and see why we're the #1 Denago dealer in the nation.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
When it comes to buying your next car, truck, or SUV, you need a team that puts you first. Here at the Sandy Sansing dealerships, we're proud to serve Pensacola and the Gulf Coast with the best selection, trusted service, and deals that work for your family. Just like great coaches build great teams, Sandy Sansing builds lasting relationships with every customer who walks through our doors. Because when it comes to finding your next vehicle, there's only one name to remember. Sandy Sansing can.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.